What is up, everybody? Welcome to The Stack. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And on The Stack, we talk about a bunch of books that have come out this week. We
sure
review
do.
them, is, I believe, what we do. Is that...
Don't spoil it, Alex. People
Okay,
don't know what
spoil
we're going to do. It's a fun surprise.
But I am going to put a spoiler alert up top because there's some big books that came out this week. And we're going to kick it off with a big one they've been building up to for a good long while. One World Under Doom, #1 from Marvel, written by Ryan North, art by R.B. Silva. The
Arby's?
The heir of the Arby's dynasty, I believe.
Oh, yes.
So,
You can taste the horsey sauce in this one.
Does this book bring the meats? I mean, that's my big question here.
Oh, wow.
This has been building up for a while. Dr. Doom is the Sorcerer Supreme of the Marvel Universe. He put Latveria under a dome, and the concept here is he takes down the dome and says, hey, the entire world is now Latveria. It is, per the title, One World Under Doom. All your world leaders agreed to it. It's all good. And not only that, I'm going to give everybody universal health care and universal free education. Now that I'm the leader here, seems pretty easy. Let's go. And the Avengers are like, we're not standing for it, and decide to take him down. Interesting concept for a book here.
Yeah.
What do you guys think about this?
For the launch of their big 9-month-long event, I'm surprised how much they focused on bureaucracy and the social contract between Dr. Doom and the world citizens. Mm-hmm. But shouts, I'm ready to be a Doombot. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, free healthcare, I'm a Doombot, no problem. Yeah, I think this is a blast. This is a lot of fun. I mean, you got, Doom riding Doom T-Rex here. So this is just some fun first issue start. I think they do a good job of like setting things up and getting you excited. Yeah, I mean, it's a little crazy with what's going on in the country, but yeah, I think this is fun.
I think, like, just to talk 9 months out at this point, we all know how this is going to go, right? Like, obviously, Doom is not going to end up being the emperor of the 616 Earth forever. They're going to be...
You don't know that.
Oh, you think they... Just bear with me for a second.
Sure.
So, we know how comics work. We know it's going to be like he's going to be taken down some way. He's going to overreach. Reed Richards is going to drive him insane eventually. But starting off in a place like this where... he's not even being like, you have to give up any of your civil liberties, they clearly, Ryan North and company, figured out a way to make it like, oh, the world would actually be into Doom taking over. I'm going to say this thing, even though I know it's not exactly true, but I don't know how the Marvel Universe recovers from this. By which I mean, starting off in a place where Doom is like, I'm going to give you universal health care and education, no strings attached, period. And this issue spends a lot of time being like, oh, also I kill Nazis, by the way, is like the big twist there, like that he's doing, where he gets one up in the Avengers. Obviously, he wants to humiliate them, but how do you get out of this at the end of 9 months where the Avengers are like, we did it. We got rid of free healthcare and education for everybody, where any of these heroes look good at all?
Well, I mean, I feel like what we're going to find out is it'll start to... Doom won't help but be able to fall into his dictatorial, egomaniacal ways, and that will... the promises he's making in this issue will be just empty, I got to think, which is... that's effective, and I feel like they're going to do a good job of twisting and turning this and giving us surprises along the way. It's a long event. I feel like it's going to have big chapters. Mm-hmm. This is just the opening salvo, so it makes sense that it's such a win for our villain going forward for a long time.
It's a weird... I don't know. It's weird to be like the liberal agenda is fascist. And I'm not quite sure politically what we're getting out of this.
No,
that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what we're getting
know
here.
You said it. Yeah, we heard you.
Or socialist, more specifically.
I think, what you said aside for a second, I think kind of like this idea that, okay, Doom is Sorcerer Supreme. He's got that kind of wind underneath his belt. What does that mean for the rest of the world? And I think this is an interesting take. Doom, who we know is evil, is kind of just flaunting these things in front of us to make people kind of follow him. And I think it'll be interesting to see if Doom does get world domination. Like, what does that really look like? What does that mean for him? And will he like it? And will he be able to put up with it and still think it's a great idea? And I think it's an interesting thing to play out. It kind of reminds me of Samurai Jack, where Samurai gets thrown in a future
everything reminds you of Samurai Jack.
Okay, whatever. But in Samurai Jack,
you saw a dog that looked like Samurai Jack yesterday?
In Samurai Jack, Aku is the evil overlord, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. So I think it's interesting to see if Doom got his wish, what would actually happen. And I think like offering people free education and free healthcare is an interesting kind of like trap to get us all involved. And it's this reminds me a little bit of when I got my first real job, and they said, okay, you're going to have Cobra insurance. And I'm like, oh, I'm not falling for this. Cobra is an evil organization. I'm not going to go along. And then they kind of had to tell me like, oh no, it's not that bad. So I'm just wondering how evil Doom is going to be, and if he's, what the turns are. But I agree with what Alex is saying. This is an interesting start of like, he's promising us unbelievable things. How are we going to defeat this,
Well, here's my prediction. I think we're going to get a bit of the Green Arrow in the Absolute Power event. We're going to get some heroes who go to Doom's side. Who buy into what Doom is pitching, and I think that's why I thought this issue was effective. Like, it's making enough of a case that I think we're going to get a sort of a mini Civil War vibe to some of this crossover, which I think is really interesting, and it will probably play out on some of the themes that you're describing, Alex.
For sure. Like, and to be clear, love Ryan North. I thought R.B. Silva's art in here was pretty good as well. I'm interested in the concept, but a lot of it comes down to what are you trying to say politically rather than taking a bunch of things and tossing them up in the air and putting them together, because we are Marvel, who's owned by Disney, and we can't say anything very specific about anything.
But what's going to be interesting is the Avengers' response to this. What kind of healthcare are they going to offer? You know what I mean? So that'll be interesting.
Yeah, I hope this plays out as a real battle over healthcare. Signing up for the...
do you want the Doom package, or do you want to get the Captain America package? You know what I mean? Like, what side do you want?
Well, we know what that dog who looks like Aku from Samurai Jack thinks about this. Why don't we move on to talk about Green Lantern Corps #1 from DC Comics, written by Jeremy Adams and Morgan Hampton, art by Fernando Pasarin and Oclair Albert. This is spinning out of the main Green Lantern title, and we're following everybody but Hal Jordan as Oa is reformed, the Green Lantern Corps is reformed, and now they're going on new missions with the Window character this issue out, John Stewart. What'd you guys think about this, Pete?
Well, first off, fun cover. You know what I mean? So that gets me excited. I was surprised how much I liked this. I'm not a huge Lanterns guy, but I thought this was a fun kind of grouping, and, spoilers, but you're throwing in Sinestro in there, so that's interesting and a fun take. So, yeah, I felt like as first issue goes, this does a great job of surprising and delighting and getting you excited for more. So I think this really delivered.
Yeah, we get to hop around to a bunch of Green Lanterns and just like get a real status quo, and there's some nice like description,
little check-in, see how they're doing, what they're up to.
Nice like early episode of like a Game of Thrones season where you're just popping in, you're seeing what's up, setting
you're just throwing kids out windows. You know what I mean? Game of Thrones.
Pete has one complaint about that very popular, very famous television program. It wasn't about that. Well, I mean, I shouldn't say that. It sort of was about that. Maybe like Pete's been right.
Very specific way. I thought they did a really good job balancing the cast in this, which I was very impressed by. It's a big cast. Like I said, you got John Stewart as the Window character, which is nice. Keeps it organized. Everything.
I thought he was more of an aisle than a Window character, but all right.
Sure. No, he's a bit of a middle seat I guess you could call him. Love a lot of these characters, so it's fun checking in with them. I don't know how much I buy Jessica Cruz as the head of everything, but I like her as a character, and I like the brief scene we get with her and Simon Baz. I thought that was fun to see them together. Joe Mullen, of course, is great. Just fun stuff. I'm glad they're expanding this world of Green Lantern in a big way.
And not just expanding, but really like giving it a headquarters, solidifying it at the same time. Because it's always something, I feel like so many Green Lantern Corps books, everyone just keeps bumping into each other, and it's like a little coincident alley.
Oh, hey, you were in space? Me too.
Me too.
Oh my God, I'm also a space cop.
Yeah, and this feels more like, like Brooklyn Nine-Nine with less comedy and more willpower, which is cool.
Yes.
Transformers. Which one's Scully?
Transformers number 17 from Guy Gardner from Skybound Image Comics, written by Daniel Warren Johnson, art by Jorge Corona. In this issue, a bunch of stuff happening with the Transformers, and big spoiler here, we meet a cool new Transformer.
Come on!
For like my Corona, the art is very good, but I gotta say,
meets the eye.
Ending all of these Energon books with just the splash page is like, get a load of Hawkfoot, and it's like, guys, you can't do this. I guess they can because they are, but
they are doing it.
Can we do another ending?
No, I'm having it. Why 17 issues in? We're having a great time. Why mix it up now?
I don't know if I am having a great time, to be honest with you. I mean, this is. Yes. I really respect this team. Like you said, Jorge Corona, I think is a really good match for this title, but without sounding like a broken record here, this is just checking in on the news with the Transformers. What's going on with the Autobots? What's going on with the Decepticons? What's going on Cybertron? And I don't have an emotional connection to any of these characters anymore, which was so strong at the beginning of the series.
Exactly. That's what's so upsetting about it, is because it was incredible how much emotion was tied up in these characters, especially Optimus Prime. And now this issue and the last couple, Optimus Prime is like, what happened? Me broken.
Yeah.
And and
that's
like
interesting,
that.
And I want to see that, but over the course of
getting
3 issues. I'm saying I condense it.
Well, I'm just saying, in the middle of a fight, it's hard because it's like, Optimus Prime is broken, but there's no time right now. He's got to go save humans. You know what I mean? Jump in the car and I can drive you away.
This fight is a story. Like, it's not like he's in a fight and it's just happening. Like, they could make the story whatever they want. So like, we could focus on Optimus Prime's like losing touch with reality, which is super interesting. But instead, we do so much roll calling where we're sticking together 2 nouns, and that's a character that is a Transformer,
does exist.
But it's hard for me to have an emotional connection with Chicken Wing or Roller Skate or whatever.
God. All right. Well, you guys, negative Nancy's aside, let me have some fun in my nostalgia bath here, okay? Because it is awesome reading this comic and seeing these characters that were in my toy box that are now kind of flying around doing their own thing. I am having a blast with this, and I thought it was really cool that they introduced a brand new, never before seen Transformer called Shredhead, which is homage to a metal band, which I think is hilarious. So this is new stuff. So I'm excited about a new Transformer being introduced. But I hear what you're saying, but I'm still having a blast with this, and the art is fantastic, and there's tons of action. And even if you can't relate to these transforming robots, the fact that they're trying to save humans is nice.
Pete, you've been in this nostalgia bath for too long. Your fingers are wrinkly. The candles
I'm not getting out. I'm not
burning
getting out
for too long. No, you have to get out.
Nope.
Hey, it's bedtime. You have to get out. And you have to. No,
just one more Transformers story.
We have to rinse your hair and get out. Transformers, less than meets the eye in this current comic.
No way.
Mine is A Long Lonesome Grave, the Pete LePage story, #1 from Oni Press, written by Justin Jordan. I don't know. You just talked about dying in a nostalgia bath, Transformers or whatever. Written by Justin Jordan, art by Chris Shehan. This is a revenge tale set in Appalachia, which has a very casual magic to it, which I thought really fascinating. where this guy comes out of prison. Like, it's a very classic revenge tale where he comes out of prison and he's like, I got one piece of business to do and then I'm gone. And he does the one piece of business and then he gets cursed by the local crime lord, and now he has 7-ish days to track him down and kill him. And that casualness to the thing where he's like, well, gotta curse, gotta bury another magic-y thing. I love that. I love the folk magic thing, what that adds onto there. I thought that was so much fun.
I had the absolute same takeaway, Alex. I was like, this, like, for maybe this is a little diminutive, but blue-collar magic, where he's like, this fucking spell's grinding my gears. I love it. It's so good. It's so effective. And especially when you're, like, reading a book with like Doctor Strange, who's just like, well, actually, the Crimson Horn of Sitarak is what I need to employ here. I'm just like, yes, give me that like ashtray magic that this guy's doing. Very fun.
Well, unfortunately, I can't have as much fun with you guys because the fact that this guy's a shitty father is driving me fucking nuts, and it's hard to have a point of entry in this when this guy's a piece of shit.
You got to get your shitty father bath. That's what you got to do.
Well, anyways, yeah, I just, it's hard to be like, this guy's a loser. He doesn't care about his family. He's going to give his daughter some money, not going to talk with her, and she doesn't want to talk to him. I was like, well, if she doesn't like him, why the fuck would I like him well enough to care if he lives or dies of a curse?
And now, Pete, when you bought your house, you had them install 52 themed bathtubs, if I recall correctly?
That's correct, yes.
Okay, all right.
For one for every week of the year.
Wow.
Month of the year.
That's true.
Month of the year.
Month?
No, I think you mean
52. Yeah, I guess.
We'll explain when you're older.
You've been in the bath for too long.
Get in the bath, and we'll explain to you.
Oh, thanks. I got to get in my math bath.
Great art in this as well. Definitely pick this up. Very excited about this series. Eddie Brock, Carnage, #1 from Marvel, written by Charles Soule, art by Jesús Saiz. Pick it up off of the end of the Venom War. What was the name of the event, I want to say? Where Eddie Brock ended up bonded to Carnage per the title. And basically the way that it's working is Carnage wants to kill a lot of people, and Eddie Brock at best only wants to kill one serial killer at a time. So that's kind of the dichotomy that they have going on here. We had Charles on the show a couple of weeks back on the live show, so you can listen to him talk about this comic. But I really like this. I thought this was like, not even with hearing Charles talk about it, not what I expected at all. Starts with a scene of Eddie Brock on a plane. He's got to find a serial killer. You know that's going to go wrong, but it goes wrong in ways you are not, or at least I was not expecting. I thought the art was great throughout, and the second half of the issue sets it up in a way that just feels like a brand new take, particularly on Carnage, but just symbiotes in general.
Well, I think in a time when I think we may all be a little
in a world
gooped out when it comes to symbiotes, this is a really refreshing take. And both the process of finding the killer on the plane and then the solution were gross in different ways. And I've been on a flight where I got Carnage gooped.
Dude, that's the worst.
Spirit down to New Orleans, right?
That's exactly right. And that's a thing they advertise. They advertise symbiote.
Yeah, they were like, Spirit, come get gooped.
Come get gooped.
Yeah.
We don't have floors on the plane, but you can get gooped by a Carnage.
Yeah, I mean, I was having a great time, and then the kind of airplane thing was fun. But then the solution to the airplane thing kind of reminded me of like 80s cartoons where they just invented a new power to save what was happening. Because I was like, I don't remember Carnage being able to do this. This is very elaborate.
No. Okay, so just to mention that specifically because there's an explanation there. The plane starts crashing because both of the pilots die, and Eddie's about to leave and with Carnage, and he's like, no, I can't leave these people here. So he flies away, he creates a net, and flies away with Carnage with all the people. Some other stuff happens after that. But that's Eddie Brock stuff. He was able to do that with Venom. So he has taught Carnage to do the thing that he learned how to do.
I guess I missed the issue where Venom sat down with Carnage and was like, listen, you can make a giant net that can hold 500 people.
Venom,
super easy.
Let me just real quick explain how Venom works. Venom and Eddie Brock
it's like a parachute, but with like a net, and then you can just kind of create it.
I can't believe that I know more about symbiotes than you do.
Let me just say, the conversation you guys just had, you're both wrong. You shouldn't have done that.
Oh, thanks.
Thanks, man. Anyway, good issue. Very excited to see where this goes. Absolute Batman #5 from DC Comics, written by Scott Snyder.
I did want to talk about they had that really cool last panel that was very did a great job of getting you excited and kind of reveals the plan of what's moving forward. And you've seen them before, like hit boards where it's like, okay, these are our suspects or these are and I was just kind of really freaked out by that board and all the people on it, because a lot of people we care about, a lot of people we would not want to see die. So it was such an interesting choice and very kind of put me in a weird emotional place where I was like, oh shit, this is going to get crazy, and I'm not sure who I'm rooting for here.
Yeah.
You're not sure who you're rooting for.
Yeah, and what did you think about the fact that by the end of the issue, Carnage has clearly joined the Squirrel Nut Zippers? I thought that was pretty cool.
The Squirrel Nut Zippers.
Yeah.
I got to reread it. I guess I missed that part.
Alex is, of course, talking about the one-hit wonder, would you say, ska band from the late 90s?
Oh, great. Yeah.
You're not a fan, Pete?
Were they ska? No. They were... What was
Swing.
Swing, yeah. When Swing came back for a year and a half.
Based on the movie Swingers, technically, right?
Yeah.
A little Zoot Suit action.
Big Bad Voodoo Daddy.
But you guys didn't see that.
I was really into it. I took swing classes and everything.
Of course you did.
Oh,
Holy shit. Give me a video of that. Were you taking them alone? Who were you doing this with?
It was in college. They offered them in college, so I took them with a friend.
Just you and your favorite cherry poppin' daddies went down there to take those classes? Wow.
It was a real Zoo Suit riot, for sure.
How many more bands can we name? Is that it?
That's it. There were no others.
You guys had no kind of emotional feelings about that hit list kind of picture board that was shown there in the last...
No, I liked it. I thought it was a good tease, but I do want to move on and talk about our next comic, Absolute Batman #5.
Sorry, real quick though, Alex. Pete is setting it up. I won't spoil them, but one of the people on here is Galactus.
That's a huge...
you think Carnage is going to kill Galactus?
That would be a crazy showdown.
I mean, I think it'll happen.
Could we get a Galactus symbiote? Sort of a very hungry
Here's
Venom?
the thing. I think, A, Carnage is going to take on Galactus. B, we are going to see Galactus all gooped up, 100%.
Nice.
Both of those things are going to happen.
Man,
let's move on. Talk about
Absolute
Batman #5 from DC Comics, written by Scott Snyder, art by Nick Dragotta.
Come on!
We last left Chonky Bruce in the present. He headed to Black Mask. He had accepted $200 million to amp up his Batman game and to just give up trying to track down Black Mask. Surprise, surprise, he doesn't take it. Pete, what'd you think about this?
Oh, he takes it all right, but then, spoilers, he sets it on fire. This continues to be so badass. This is one of my favorites of the week. I am just having such a great time. Badass cover, by the way. Yeah, this is fan-fucking-tastic. This is hardcore Batman. Love the art. Love all the action. This is just a romp and just so much fun. This is like a roller coaster ride for Batman. I'm having a blast.
It's just rare to see a writer and artist team up to strike such a specific tone and be working so well synergistically as we have here with Scott and Nick. This book is so good. It's so its own thing. It's such a strong voice in POV. And shout out the line in halfway through the book when Black Mask is looks at the chonky bat signal and is like, that is one ugly bat. Meta comment on all of the press coming out of the first images of Absolute Batman.
Very fun.
This is fantastic. The only other thing that I'll throw out there that I was really struck by this issue is this Batman is the Joker, that he's burning money the same way the Joker does in Dark Knight Rises. I think Scott has even said this, that the idea here is he is the Joker because he's trying to break the system, but he's using his powers for good, and that eventually when we do meet the Joker, it's going to be the opposite. He's going to be holding on and trying to keep order. Yes, Pete.
I just want to disagree with you there. The Joker just set the money on fire to kind of showcase the fact that he is chaos incarnate and he can't be bought, where Batman lit this money on fire to make a bat symbol. So a little different, but I appreciate what you're saying.
I don't know. I think it's pretty similar to what you just said. I mean, I think the big take is Batman's like, Alfred, help me out. And Alfred's like, make your own fucking cucumber sandwiches. I don't do that shit.
Yeah. But when he makes them, they're going to be like big ass
chunky
cucumbers. Oh my God. That's going to be, I can't wait. And the bouillabaisse, that's going to be insane.
It'd be so cold. I gotta think. Oh, that's gazpacho. I gotta feel. I'm curious if this Alfred could. Well, let me take it back. Do you feel like Batman could be caught because of his cucumber sandwich breath? Like, I feel like that's a rare thing. Like, an astute villain would be able to just smell.
Also, because he's so ripped, he can't be Bruce Wayne. You could just look at him and be like, "Oh, that's Batman. Look how chunky he is."
And also, why do you think Alfred in the main continuity is always making him soup when he could make gazpacho, which is already cold? Because he knows Bruce is not going to like be home in time to eat it when it's hot. So just make the cold soup.
Look at him.
He's not lunch soup.
He's not doing soup. He's doing protein shakes, man. This is like, this is beyond
when you
soup.
Said bouillabaisse strikes me as a difficult soup that is unnecessary for Batman. That's a real. He could just stick with a chowder, I think, to affect.
New England or Manhattan? What are we thinking?
I feel like Manhattan's the more.
I agree. I feel like if Batman had New England clam chowder and then went out to fight crime, he'd be like, oh, my tummy.
Just like ripping ass as he's like swinging around the city.
Oh my God. What is happening?
Should we keep going, Pete? I want to stick on this one. I wanted to get past Eddie Brock Carnage, but I want to keep talking about what kind of soup Batman eats.
Hey, if you don't think chonky Batman's ripping ass,
let's make a chonky soup reference for Christ's sake. So we're dancing all around it.
Bug Wars #1 from Image Comics, written by Jason Aaron, art by Mahmud Asrar. Later on today, or depending when you're listening to it, maybe it's live already, we had a spoiler-filled chat with the creative team about this book, so check that out in the Comic Book Club feed. But this is pitched as Honey, I Shrunk the Kids meets Game of Thrones, as a young bullied kid ends up shrunk down in his backyard where big battles are going on between warring bug clans. What'd you guys think about this one?
Well, yeah, it's too bad we didn't have any time to talk to him about this and about how he feels about punching people through the face. But I do think that this is a total blast and very violent in a kind of fun way. Because when you think Bug Wars, I initially was like, is this going to be like a Bug's Life? But this is very different. And
when you think Bug Wars, do you think of like catching different types of bugs and throwing them into a spider web and seeing which one the spider goes to first?
No, I was thinking like it would be more of an octagon situation where you would catch bugs and then kind of have them in an octagon and fight each other to see who survives.
I was thinking about that because I did that.
Oh. You did that? You would pit animals against each other for your own amusement?
Well, no, we were keeping the spider going strong.
So you were doing it to chunk up the spider so it could get all beefed up.
I love a chunky spider. Here's the thing. Chunky spider more likely to get into a lab, get zapped by some fun radiation, instant Spider-Man. Feed your spiders, people, if you want to have a Spider-Man.
Do not feed
Any thoughts about this book, Justin?
Justin, any thoughts on the book? I love
this book. I hyped this up on the live show. I think it's excellent. This is, it's such a nice progression, something that it's written with such confidence and drawn as well with such effective decision making in the different parts of the book. I won't spoil too much of what happens, but it's such a great build, and there's so much more story here. If you listen to the interview, you can hear that these guys have so much story that they're ready to get into in this book, and that's fun.
I was also surprised that he loves a good shrinkage story, like I love a good shrinkage story, where Hulk shrunk down and fought people when he was little was one of my favorites. So it was kind of cool to hear him talk about his love of that, and so it kind of really makes sense that they would come to this book with such joy and reverence. And there's a real world down here that they are very excited to explore. So it all jumps out on you in this first issue.
X-Men #11 from Marvel, written by Jed MacKay, art by Netho Diaz. In this issue, Cyclops' dad returns with a bunch of twists as the team battles a space whale and some aliens. Justin, this is your guy, by which I mean the
Justin.
Starjammers.
The Jammas?
Whatever his name is.
What?
What's Cyclops' dad? Why am I blanking on his name?
Deuce Summers.
What did you say? Duke?
I believe you said Duke Summers or Deuce Summers. Did you say Deuce Summers?
I feel like he said douche.
Yeah, douche.
If I know Pete, he said douche. I feel like this book is finally starting to come into its own a little bit by being a more aggressive mid Chris Claremont run on a type of book. Like, we're getting a lot of just like continuity touch points and like trying to build out some story. It goes just a little harder than I feel like Claremont did. Does that make sense?
Sure.
Anyone else feeling that?
Yeah, I feel like this is doing a good job of showcasing what a shitty leader Cyclops is, because instead of listening to his father, he yells at him and then
his father's
falls
jerk.
right into the trap.
His father's a jerk. Corsair has been like the most aggressively distant father in like all of the Marvel.
Oh, so now a distant father means something to you, where in other books it didn't. Now all of a sudden it's like striking a chord with you?
It's not striking a chord. I'm just telling you, he's like, his whole thing is not being good at much. Like, and he's always showing up and being like, hey, I did a bad space pirate thing. Help.
Yeah, help clean this up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. DC
Wait,
versus...
Alex, what did you think, though?
I think it's all right. DC versus Vampires, World War V, Darkness and Light, #1 from DC Comics, written by Matthew Rosenberg, art by Daniel Bayliss and Nicolas Mezia. This is a spin-off of the main series, a one-shot, giving us 2 linked stories involving Vampire Wonder Woman and Green Lantern Alfred Pennyworth. Justin, I feel like you called this one out, right?
I did. I was talking about how I feel like this little microverse in the larger DC universe.
You talking about Micro Machines?
No, I will speak at that pace if that helps. If that helps this review, but I really think the way that they're effectively building out this universe while also finding new entry points throughout different parts of it and bringing in characters and finding ways for them to be different from the main continuity to reflect all their values and interests going on that they're doing there as in this tiny universe is very fun, while also bringing emotional storytelling, which is hard to do in any context, let alone a much larger story where the continuity is being sort of shoveled in on top of this vampire story that's been running underneath all of this with a lot of big continuity of its own.
Wow, fun. I also like this, but for different reasons. Alfred's alive, so that just makes me happy. And this is a Guy Gardner that I've never seen before, so love this. This is over-the-top fun, amazing art and action. Yes, please, more.
The Hive, #1 from Image Comics, written by A.J. Lieberman, art by Mike Henderson. This book is about a gang who, it's not 100% clear yet, but seems to be able to control people's minds either like bees or with bees. One of the two.
It's hard to tell what's happening in this book, is maybe what you're trying to say, Alex. I like, it sort of has... I feel like maybe they're mapping bee qualities on humans. We get some like bunch of sex.
Yeah, I can't read this in the open.
In the open?
Yeah, we're.
Do you mean the U.S. Open, like at Center Court?
Yeah, definitely don't read this at the U.S. Open or on the subway or on a bus.
How's your head, by the way? I believe it was Serena Williams threw a racket at your head because you were reading The Hive in the middle of the U.S. Open.
I dodged it.
Wow. So I think that's what we're getting to here. It's just this story doesn't do you any favors as far as letting you in on exactly what's happening.
Yeah, it's what I like about it is it's really an interesting idea of kind of like who's controlling what and what's going on and what's real and what's not. But I thought this was really impressive. A lot of like amazing art and action and interesting story. This is very cool, and I can't wait to see what's going to happen and it get all explained to me and hopefully start making sense. But as the first issue, I think they did a good job of like setting up a very interesting world even though you can't read it out in public.
Just want to say I love Mike Henderson's art. It's always a pleasure to read the stuff that he draws, so that was nice to see here. Next up, another real big one for our culture. Deadpool Team Up number 5 from Marvel by Rob Liefeld. This is the final book that Rob Liefeld is ever going to do for Marvel Comics, according to Rob Liefeld.
Wow.
He had already said it was the final Deadpool thing that he was going to do because he wanted to go out when he was still on top. But now, due to some statements he said, he has cut ties with Marvel entirely. So this is it. This is his swan song, his goodbye to Marvel. So what do we think? Did the master pull off this feat of going out on the top of his game?
Rob Liefeld.
Did he have it in the pouch the whole time, you know?
Yeah, it was in the pouch. It's definitely in the pouch. I mean, this is just, it's a little bit of a time machine for me where it's going back. I remember when
Is that like a nostalgia bath, the time machine?
A little bit.
Don't bring your time machine into your nostalgia bath, Pete. You might electrocute
You gotta keep those. Yeah, you gotta keep those separate, man. That's a good note to remember. But I just think that, like, reading this, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember Deadpool when I was a kid, and Rob Liefeld, and
you know they're still making Deadpool comics now.
Yeah, I know, but not like this.
Buckle up if you want more.
Luckily.
Yeah, so I don't know if you know what you're gonna get when you open up a Rob Liefeld Deadpool, and he delivers. So
do you? There's at least one thing in this one.
What is he? Your uncle?
No, I'm just saying that, like, I wasn't surprised by this. I wasn't like, what? I was like, this is exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Not surprised.
This is pretty bad, right?
Yes, did not enjoy. And, like, here's the thing. Like, I don't want to, like, get involved in the Rob Liefeld universe conversation. But it just, it's not, I didn't think the art was super interesting. Yeah. It was weirdly not even up to what I normally think of as his standard, and even some of what the earlier issues look like. And the story felt like he was doing a little bit of a victory lap. It felt aggressively like, hey, I just want to have all these characters, and then also Spider-Gwen for some reason, which didn't make sense.
What tipped you off of that? And this is a big spoiler there. Do you think he was doing a victory lap by the fact that he revealed that the character Agent X is a guy named Rob Liefeld? Was that part of, like, the victory lap of the whole thing?
That's the thing, is, like, who read that and was
or
like,
Major X or whatever?
Yeah. Is it Agent or I feel like it's Agent, but
I don't know. Whatever it is, I looked up the character afterwards because I was like, this is definitely Rob Liefeld, but he's saying he met him 30 years ago. I assume that's a joke on Rob Liefeld creating him, but let me look up this character because I feel his character has appeared before. And in previous appearances, that's been a different character. He's like Nathaniel Alexander Summers or something like that. So just for this issue, he turned him into himself, Rob Liefeld, which is fine.
Yes.
Made me laugh.
But who reads that and is like, awesome? It was him.
I don't know.
Rob Liefeld reads it.
I agree with you, though. It was a bummer. Like, there's no backgrounds in any of these shots. It's Deadpool in the exact same pose the entire book. So I am not anti-Rob Liefeld by any means because, like Pete's saying, there's a place for that sort of, like, ridiculous, over-the-top 90s art. But I agree with you, Justin. This was not up to his standards, and it's a bummer for him to go out on. By which I mean, Rob, come back for another miniseries.
Yeah, wow. That would be crossing some major lines. I mean, it is Major X. Agent X is a different character. But, the inclusion of Spider-Gwen I thought was strange. And he talks about Shatterstar a lot in here. Like, I don't know. But it is all pinned on this, like, dragon thing that feels like unrelated to any of other of Rob Liefeld's work. So it just felt I'd rather just a victory lap rather than a tacked on Dragon Lord fight.
Yes,
one or the other, and this is sort of doing both and not landing much.
Action Comics 1083 from DC Comics, written by John Ridley, art by Inaki Miranda. Clark is dealing with a bunch of villains who are really bummed out. In this issue, we find out why and how that is happening. Versus the first issue, of this arc that was more investigation focused. This goes into more classic Superman stuff. How are you feeling about this story so far?
I really like this, and I maybe mentioned this in the previous issue, but I love that it's a real Clark the character-led story, and him really like using Superman, using the fact that he's Superman to do what he's doing. I feel like we never get Superman stories like that. So that was really cool, and I like this investigation and the way it's conducted here.
Yeah, I agree with the JT says here, and to quote him, it's a great package. You know, you've got some great art, some cool story going on, and I thought the conversation with Batman was nice.
There you go.
Yeah.
Geiger, number 11 from Image Comics, written by Jeff Johns, art by Gary Frank. In this issue, Geiger meets Ash Arden, the glowing woman who has gained control of her powers. He needs to gain control of his, otherwise he's going to die. But I'll tell you what, he does not want to.
Yeah, Geiger's our boy's a real psychopath in here. And,
He's a bit of a curmudgeon.
Yeah, it doesn't give a fuck. I was a little like, yo, Geigs, let's chill, because you're going to... You exploded. We saw it coming. But, yeah, it was tough to see our boy looking like this, but... I'm still enjoying this amazing art. I just want more of the dog, please. Not less, more.
This comic is keeping track of that dog like nothing else. Literally, there's a whole page in here where he's like, "Where's my dog?" And they're like, "He's actually 10 floors up with your zebra. Do you want me to call them?" I was like, "Okay."
Would you like to see a panel that is a cross section of where the dog and the zebra are?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I was like, very great pet ownership in this comic, and I can't believe I'm asking this question, but. Is Geiger's family dead?
There are some strong hints of that in this issue flashback scene.
Well, but like I feel like we've seen the origin of Geiger so many times, and I've called it out.
Oh, you are actually legitimately asking?
Yes,
okay.
Because I feel like they're dead. We saw them die.
Yeah,
but. The way the comic keeps talking about them, I'm like, do they like sneak out? Do they somehow survive somehow? Because like it feels like that is an open question in so many of these Geiger issues.
Yeah, I mean that's a fair theory. I could definitely see like an issue 25 reveal that they were alive the entire time.
I thought they'd be dead the entire time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other option.
See what it is.
Because
the
it
big
seems
thing
like
that I was responding to is that like I just don't understand where the level of anger Geiger is feeling in this issue is coming from, where they've traveled across the country to find the lady who got cured, and the second he gets there, he's like, "Fuck you! I'm out of here! I don't care! You're lying to me!" And she's like, "No, actually, I cured it." And he's like, "That's it! I'm leaving!" And every single thing anybody says to him, he's like, "Leave me alone!" Just calm down. Take it down like 2 notches, man.
Dude, when you're part radiation, you are fiery. And I can relate to it. Yeah, I just think from
Part radiation LePage.
When you kind of read between the panels a little bit, it seems like his family's been dead, but he's lost his mind and he's still trying to protect
That's
them.
not reading between the panels.
Look at it, Scott McCloud over here.
Yeah!
I also think, are we setting up this new character, Ash Arden? Is she are they going to have like a aggressive nuclear-driven romance?
Oh, I thought you were going to say sexual incident, and for sure.
Well,
a sexual meltdown? Is that
that's how it starts.
Yeah,
when someone
100%. Absolutely. They're going to have sex, and it's going to cause a nuclear meltdown. I guarantee it.
Worth it.
And that's when his family's going to walk in and be like, Geiger.
Oh, no, Daddy.
I thought you were waiting outside the door for us. Or whatever.
We've been inside the entire time. I guess we'll see. Into the Unbeing, Part 2, number 1 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Zach Thompson, art by Hayden Sherman. Now, I will say we checked out the first couple of issues here, and I think missed a couple towards the end, but I thought it was worth checking this out again now that it's restarting with a new part 2. For anybody who hasn't read it, I would describe it, there's a lot more going on, but sort of like Annihilation meets Prometheus, kind of, as a bunch of folks have been trapped inside an enormous, possibly dead, possibly alive Leviathan. The first part of this issue goes back in time to show us, if not the origins there, at least some of the beginnings of some of the things that happen. I'm glad we checked in because I think this cleaned up the narrative, is great jumping on point, and Hayden Sherman, they just do incredible art every time out. Makes it a must read in and of itself.
Speaking of incredible art, creepy title and fantastic cover.
Nice.
Great.
The if you were to look past the title, there's other pages there, and that's what I'm going to talk about.
On the cover?
Yeah.
No, there's a whole story
beyond
really?
The cover.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's
Into
called a
the
deep
unbeing.
This comic is I love the comparisons you made, Alex. Also, Event Horizon, if you remember that movie, it has like a little bit of that in it too. I feel like the art is so good in this, and the journey is great. And every page, every panel has extra creepy shit that is part of the environment that adds a lot to it.
It's crazy, intense, and creepy. It's kind of like a fever dream, but it's very interesting and creative.
Yeah. Amazing Spider-Man number 67 from Marvel, written by Justina Ireland, art by Andrea Brocardo. In this issue, Spider-Man's still bummed out and has given up despite something going on with the Black Cat the previous night. We don't find out what it is. And in
just friends.
It
lieu of, they had a friend sleepover in one bed. Okay, Justin. And in lieu of Spider-Man stopping the Scions of Sidorak, the X-Men jump into the fray, but there are even more twists to come. I'll tell you what, there's nothing against Joe Kelly, who I think is a great writer, but Justina Ireland's issues have been knocking it out of the park with this.
Yeah, I agree with you, and I think that it feels like everything's getting complicated. Like, we have the X-Men, multiple Scions of Sidorak just bouncing around this. Like, there's a lot of story here, and then a new villain that's sort of even worse than the Scions of Sidorak that I think is maybe going to spur Spider-Man into action. So, like, the fact that Justina Ireland is really balancing this and giving us these nice moments, like the scene between Peter Parker and Black Cat. I have, like, a whole separate, very, like, novella about what happened in the previous night. I'll
is that going to be a bonus episode, or when you going to give that to us?
Yeah, I'll just email it to you guys, and you guys can let me know what you think.
Okay.
And if I went far enough.
I would say.
By the way, I know you called it a novella, but I just really appreciate whenever you email your homegrown porn. That's what I call
homegrown.
I'm gonna shock
porn.
Shock nobody with this review, but sad Peter moping about blows, and if only he had something or somebody to fight for. You know what I mean? Like somebody who maybe was an unbelievable. Partner to him,
Shay? Are you thinking Shay?
No, you must be talking about Shay.
No, I'm talking
his girlfriend, Shay. I know they've hit a rough patch, but really pulling for that Shay.
Yeah, she's got a lot of big nursing shifts at Marvel's Arkham Asylum.
I'm talking about Mary Jane.
Not familiar.
She's married to a guy with a cool haircut.
She is.
We'll
talk more about him.
We're going to see him in
a
a little bit.
Yeah, let's get close. We got to get to that sweet Paul time. So
let me just say real quick before you move on to Alex, and I know we keep doing that to you, and I got to say we're going to keep doing it. Right. The way that they're committing to Mopey Peter, I'm surprised by, and the Doctor Strange goes to him in the scene, is like, "Come on, man! Like you're not going to do this." He's like, "I don't give a shit." They're just like. They're pushing the story further than I thought they would in this odd follow-up to the Zeb Wells run that I'm really enjoying.
Batman Dark Patterns, number 3 from DC Comics, written by Dan Waters. Once again, art by Hayden Sherman. This is the finale of this arc. If you don't know
cover.
This... Hold on. This title is Dark Mysteries, back early in Batman's career, and it's going to be told in, I believe, 4 stories 3 issues each. They're not linked, so we're not going to see more of this, but this finishes up the story of the Wound Man who has nails and screws all over his body. Again, gorgeous art from Hayden Sherman, really dark, disturbing writing. I liked how this turned out. Good mystery, great book.
Yeah. I think the art in this is fantastic, and I really like the structure that you just laid out of this being a series of 3 issues that tell these stories. This one was sort of, I don't know how the Wound Man really what the origin of the villainy, or the idea of this being the main villain of this, but it was cool. I'm glad we got to read this, but I'm excited to what comes next.
Yeah, I thought this was awesome. Shout outs to the art because it really is phenomenal. And this was a fun build up to this issue where we didn't know how Batman was going to get out of this. This guy seemed, just hell bent on his purpose, and there was no way to kind of Batman to beat him. So I was impressed with the kind of turns that this took. And thought this was great. Can't wait for more.
There we go. The Lucky Devils, #2 from Image Comics, written by Charles Soule, art by Ryan Brown. This takes place in a world where Soul Stack, where there are 2 devils. They're trying to come up in the world, so they team up with some humans to try to convince them to let them influence their lives in little ways, but they've got a bigger plan to totally change hell. We talked about this before, I believe, when we had Charles and Ryan on the live show, but I liked the first issue. I really started to get into it with this second issue, which I think picked up the story in big ways, really fleshed out the mythology. If you read the first issue and were like, oh, this is good, definitely read the second one, because it feels like that to me is the whole pilot for this series. How'd you guys feel about it?
I agree with you. It really built out the world. And when we talked to Charles, I think we said that this book is so much different than I feel like the initial premise at the top of the first issue really lays out. And this issue is the issue that really opens it all up. It's these guys working together are always just building out their worlds. They're very thoughtful, and they do a lot of quote-unquote pre-production before they move into any of their storytelling. And you can just sense it, even though this is a little bit shorter than perhaps some of their other work as a run. And also a book that you might not want to read out in the open.
Oh, yeah,
right,
definitely.
Pete?
Yeah, definitely.
Out in the open.
Out in the open, where people can see you.
In the field.
I imagine you running down your main street of your town reading this comic.
All right, I do that. I just think that this is. I love the art. This is a very interesting and intricate premise. It's interesting because it's like, holy crap, who are we rooting for? You know what I mean? Because the humans are so easily manipulated. Are we rooting for these devils to kind of ruin people's lives so they can get to a better place? Because once they get somewhere, there's all these hell is just as bad as Earth as far as trying to get anywhere, and it's all this corporate stuff, and you got to do all, and it's just oh my God. So it's a very interesting idea, and I feel like we're just kind of wrapping our heads around. So it'll be interesting what happens next.
Pete, you famously say you're going to hell. Does this book really open it up for you?
Yeah, I mean, it gives me hope. You know what I mean?
Do you want hell to be sort of full of traffic and stuff you know about?
Yeah, familiar. You know what I mean? Yeah,
great.
Familiar faces.
Where everybody knows your name.
Yeah.
Nice. Let's talk about my issue of the week, Those Not Afraid, number 2.
Oh, this is your issue.
I know. I was very surprised. Those Not Afraid, number 2 from Dark Horse Comics, written by Kyle Starks, art by Patrick Piazzalunga. This is a series about 2 serial killers who are trying to break the record for most serial kills in one area. There is a true crime podcast host who is, as it turns out, friends with one of them. And the cliffhanger we ended on the last issue is the 2 serial killers were in the same place with the same people, and that's kind of where we pick up here. what I am loving about this series, beyond just the unrelenting darkness and tension throughout here, is how crazy quickly it's moving through story. The place where we start the issue and the place where we end the issue are...
Wait, there's some echo.
So different. It's all right. We got it. Okay. I was floored by where we get to at the end here, and I have no idea what's going to happen going in issue 3. Great twist, great turns, very dark storytelling. I'm all in.
Wow. Yeah, this is really dark and kind of fucked up. It's upsetting that like serial killers have girlfriends and stuff like that, you know, and it's like, Jesus Christ, man. But I do think that the twist that happens at the end is a real oh shit moment where I was very shocked and surprised. Yeah, this is insane, but really well done and really impressive art. Very
I also
scary.
love it, like, because I agree with you. I think that the book is really fun. It's fucked up. It's like the classic like millionaires deal where they try to do something fucked up on their own time. But I also think it's really funny. There's a lot of comedy moments in this at the same time that really work. So yeah, I agree. This is a great read.
Funny?
It is. All new Venom number 3.
Wait, I'm
darkly
sorry.
Comic. Oh my gosh. Okay,
I'm just sorry to go back, but what part was funny? Where his trunk he couldn't get his trunk closed fast enough. That was funny.
That was.
You're like, oh, hilarious! This person who should be locked up is maybe hopefully going to be. That's funny.
It's like Curb Your Enthusiasm, except he has a hacksaw that he cuts people's arms off.
Curb Your Enthusiasm.
There was that one episode, right?
Yeah.
Right.
If they did another season, this might be the plot of next Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Oh my god.
Cool. All right. All new Venom number 3 for Marvel, written by Al Ewing, art by Carlos Gomez. We are continuing to unravel the mystery of the identity of the all new Venom. I will say we were critical of the ending of the last issue where they're like, well, it's not Luke Cage. And we all said, why? But luckily they start this issue with being like, well, here's why, and at least explaining it, why he is no longer a suspect for the identity of Venom. But we also get another one who we find out through this issue. Madame Mask is also not a suspect. So now our suspects are down to Rick Jones and Robbie Robertson, and that's it for the all-new Venom. I have no
There's
other
no
guesses.
chance it's
Wink,
either
wink.
of those guys. There's no chance it's either of those
It's
guys.
Paul. That's
See, that's what I was
Blart,
thinking in this
the
issue.
mall cop?
No, Top Knot, a.k.a. Top Knot. I had called out Mary Jane as the one. And
You did.
And it is weird that Top Knot is explaining to Eddie Brock's son, like, hey, she'll be back in a second. And it made me think that it is Mary Jane in this. But Paul's another great call, I think.
I think it's Paul. Here's why I think it's Paul based on this issue. And in general, I've been enjoying this series. I think it's a fun concept. I like the mystery, whoever it turns out to be. I'm having a good time reading this, just to get that out of the way. But it's Paul because there's a big part of this issue where the Venom symbiote talks to Dylan and talks to him about Eddie Brock being missing and why he's been away and all these things. And it's this very heartfelt moment. And then Dylan gets back and is like, shut up, Top Knot, leave me alone, while Paul's trying to give him an encouraging talk. And I think you wouldn't have that dichotomy in there if it wasn't the same person trying to bond it with him in different ways. In addition, and this is the stupidest reason, but I think this is in there very clearly, Paul is wearing a yellow shirt that's pretty much the same color as the gold on this Venom. So, yeah, I think that's where we're going here, is they're telling us these are the suspects, and it's actually Paul, which is okay because Paul was in the first issue. So I'm all right with that as like a swerve of a mystery.
Yeah, I
But
agree.
wouldn't it be more fun to be like Luke Cage or Madame Mask or something that's like,
Yes, Paul
shit.
sucks.
No, I think it's good to give throw Paul a bone. Here's the only thing, though. In the issue, like Venom, it starts with Venom having a huge hole where the human would be.
It doesn't. They do that as a way of explaining that, like, oh, it's not 6 foot tall Luke Cage; it's somebody shorter than that. But I don't think it really works.
It doesn't make sense. Because that's why reading that, I was like, is it just Venom, no host?
I mean, it could be. I think that was the thing, though, that was confusing about the last issue, because I also came away with the impression like, oh, is this a character with no human head? But I don't think that's what they're saying here. I think they're saying that the human is below that. However, we've also seen multiple times like Venom get shot through the middle and be fine. So I don't know what we're talking about.
I think it's an inch-eye private eye. That's why it's so small. You know what I mean?
Man, that's cool.
That makes sense.
So first off, this is fun. All the who is it aside, which is starting to get a little bit annoying for me. But there are a lot of fun cameos in this.
2 more issues, by the way. They're wrapping it up at 5.
Okay, great. I also, it was just weird how we really got into Venom's like new paintball dispensers that he has here, and I was just like, wow, we're spending a lot of time talking about how cool this web shooting thing is, and I was just like, it's just there could be other things that we could be talking about and enjoying here, so I was a little surprised on the use of time on that.
Fair enough. Aquaman #2 from DC Comics, written by Jeremy Adams, art by John Timms. Last issue, Aquaman went through a Omega portal and then came out in some strange dimension. That's where we pick up with him here. Seems to be a mystical dimension ruled by horrible creatures that doesn't have a lot of water. And meanwhile, Aquaman now has very similar powers to Mera, which he is trying to exercise in a certain way. Justin, you're a big Aqua guy on this podcast. How are you feeling about this?
Yeah, Justin, you're an Aqua guy.
Yeah, I love the water. I love taking nostalgia baths. I'm sort of an Aquaman in that way.
Oh, man.
What I really like about this, the last issue, he goes through this Omega door. I was like, ooh, fun. Attaching him to some of the dark side stuff, and then he's in this world that, it feels like it's not an absolute situation, but it's like it feels like it's in a tributary flowing into the larger DC continuity, which feels good. I think Aquaman does best when he is like pursuing his own adventure, and that's what this story feels like it's all about. I like the way that he seems to be powering up a little bit here. I just thought this issue is moving in the right direction from a story perspective.
Yeah, the blood powers got a little weird for me where he's blood bending.
Well, you know what makes up what's in blood, Pete? A lot of?
Don't say water.
Beer. It's mostly beer.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, I think this is fun. It's nice to see Aquaman kicking butt and having his own adventures. Love the art. Enjoy all the action and the pace of this. I just got a little weirded out by the blood stuff.
I like the idea of the blue. That's pretty cool. It's another
adding
color
to the green and the red. And the gray.
So another color, but as much as I'm kind of sick of colors, I do like...
You're sick of colors?
I'm sick of colors because Green Lantern is all like, we're going to keep adding colors until we run out of color ideas. And now, just like Justin's saying, in the past couple of years, we've gone very hard on the green and the red and adding the gray, and there was also the machine people, which I don't remember what they were. And now we have the blue added to that. So a lot of color stuff, but it makes sense for Aquaman, and it works here in this story, so that's cool. Throw out one theory to you, because he does go through this Omega portal, and they start calling him the Dark Tide. Do you think he's going to slowly morph into Darkseid?
Whoa.
That would be crazy. Like,
right?
Dark Tide, Dark Side.
Oh. I mean, it could happen.
I don't think so, but that'd be crazy. That reminds me of the Armageddon crossover back in 2001, I want to say, where it was like, who is the great villain? And it was like Hawk.
Well, but that was like, also famously, they changed it, right?
At the end, you mean? At the very last minute? Yeah.
Well, anyway,
was the one.
Yes. Why don't we move on and talk about Feral, number 10 from Image Comics, written by Tony Fleeks, art by Trish Forstner and Tone Rodriguez. In this issue, we're continuing the arc of our cats trapped in the basement by a rabid lady who is keeping them locked there, and things go from bad to worse. Pete, you're nodding. No. You don't like this?
This is Tony Fleeking insane. I mean, the choice that the adorable kittens make to eat the old lady is just, I was just like, oh my God, this is
What did you think about the moment they're like, this actually isn't so bad?
That was just...
I love it.
You love it? You love eating people?
I've been in a lot of situations, not people necessarily, but it's like, well, I guess we'll have to eat our way out.
No.
And,
a lot of situations?
You ever go on the New York
trapped
City subway? Sometimes I'm like, I'm going to need to clear a space here.
Yeah, exactly.
You just start eating people.
You get stuck in a Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man situation. I've been in like a Jello cave, popcorn disaster. We've all been there.
Jello caves are upstate, right? In Carlsbad.
Yeah, I mean,
really fun trip.
The end of Real Genius there, that popcorn situation, he had to eat his way out. So I can appreciate that. Yeah.
It all makes sense. And once you start, you can't stop. The Pringle mess that I was in for a while, Pringle jail, ate my way out.
Yeah. You're still wanted for that, right?
Yes, exactly. I murdered the Pringle man.
But the art in this is
His
amazing.
mustache flew off.
The story keeps getting crazier and crazier, and I'm really worried about these fucking cats, man. This is just horrible. This is just horrible.
Yo,
wow.
Put that on that's a pull quote right
Pete's
there.
going for the back of the cover again. He already got quoted once. Hopefully he'll get quoted again with, I'm worried about these fucking cats, man.
This book is fun. It really, it's a very visual book, which I surprised. It's really turned that page a bit. But it's also a zombie story where I really don't know ever what's going to happen, which I think is surprising, specifically for a zombie story.
Welcome to the Maynard, number 3 from Dark Horse Comics, written by James Robinson, art by Jay Bone. We are following a bellhop at a magical hotel who is also training to be the hotel detective. She is working on unraveling a mystery, and I'm not unpleasantly, but surprised to hear that this is one of Pete's favorite comics of the week. Why is that, Pete?
This is just such a refreshing comic in the stack. Nobody's fucking somebody's skin off or ripping off and trying to eat an old lady. This is just
Skin rippers!
This is just a fun story about a bellhop trying to work at a magical place where things go wrong, and she's just trying to do the best job that she can. It's a simple present, and I just think it's lovely. It's a nice, refreshing comic in a world of madness, and I appreciate it. And the art's unbelievable.
And I'm sorry, Pete, just quick question. I have a little time this week. What was that book you were talking about where somebody fucks somebody's skin off? I just want to write down the name.
Yeah.
Pete?
You were reading that aloud to a
Oh, I'm sorry. That was
you were reading it in the
Justin's,
open, I believe.
Justin's novella that he sent me. I apologize.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I told you things got out of hand with Peter and Black Cat. It got out of hand. I still think it's
Which one,
canon.
though?
It's my
That's the
canon.
quick question.
That is the question. I mean, we've talked about this book with James and Jay Bone as well, which is it is fun. It has Wes Anderson with magic vibes. It has storybook energy. It's a fun story, and again, another world that the creators are dying to explore for years. So there's a lot of runway here.
Yeah, it's great.
Deadpool, number 11 from Marvel, written by Cody Ziegler, art by Andrea DeVito. Lots of Deadpool, as we said, in the stack, but this is kicking off a 4-part crossover between Deadpool and Miles Morales. And we haven't checked into this book in a while, so I figured it was worth checking in because of that. So we get Deadpool, his daughter, who is now a Deadpool, have been tasked with hunting down and killing Spider-Man. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, I guess, for Spider-Man, they go after the wrong one because there's a lot in the city. What do you guys think about the kickoff issue to the Pools of Blood storyline?
Yeah, this is just fun. I love the kind of father-daughter madness that kind of ensues here. It's nice to have her be the voice of reason a little bit. And, yeah, it's just kind of silly Deadpool fun. Oh, we got to kill Spider-Man. Oops, wrong Spider-Man. Oops. So it's just kind of a fun idea. I think it's well executed, great art, tons of action. Deadpool comedy galore. I think this is enjoyable and kind of sweet, which is where I think the sweet spot for Deadpool is.
I feel like there should be more Spider-Man mix-ups. There are so many Spider people going around. This one is Shift, which I was like, oh yeah. No real explanation about what the deal is with Shift. So I thought that was funny. Just like, as he gets shot and then muscles up, and I was like, you're not going to explain what's happening here? I guess not. And also, this Deadpool, I like it. It's a little more classic Deadpool. It's not as, like, rat-a-tat, sort of Spider-Man level obnoxious, happy Spider-Man level obnoxiousness of Deadpool. Still playing the game, still like, I can't believe that only happened 2 pages ago, whatever that joke is in there. But I did want them to play more the comedy of having shot the wrong Spider-Man, maybe go on and shoot a bunch of different Spider-Men before they find the right one. A lot of opportunity there.
I thought you were going to say it was a Ratatouille situation where the daughter was really pulling the strings.
Wow, great prediction.
That's not the plot of Ratatouille, but I hear what you're saying. Speaking of another parent-child duo, Batman and Robin number 18 from DC Comics, written by Philip Kennedy Johnson, art by Javi Fernandez, Miguel Mendonça, and Carmine Di Giandomenico. In this issue, Batman is still trying to track down an old villain from his past, while Damian is doing the same, leading to a big potential status quo change for the two of them, which I found very surprising.
Plus fun cover.
Always. And that's all, that's all you got, Pete.
Yeah, I mean, the tension between Batman and Robin in this issue is really interesting. And the kind of use of the different Robins. I just think this is a very enjoyable story that's really well written and well drawn and inked. This is a blast. I'm very much having a great time with this.
A lot of books in the Bat family explore the tension or complicated relationships between Robins. This one, I feel like, does a good job of exploring the differences about how the Robins relate to Batman. And it stuck out to me and it highlighted in a good way the fact that, it's different because Damian is Batman's actual son. Mm-hmm. Something that I feel like we make reference to or is mentioned a bunch, but I feel like it's not really super explored. And how different that is and how their father-son relationship is extremely complicated. So I think this is really touching on something that I would like to see more of, and so I'm enjoying what Philip Kennedy Johnson's doing.
Yeah, he's killing it.
Creepshow in Love, number 1 from Skybound Image Comics, written by Mirka Andolfo, Patrick Horvath, Yul Ping O, and Puree. Art by Mirka Andolfo, Patrick Horvath, and Puree. This is 3 Valentine stories with people just fucking each other's skin off pretty much all the time.
That's what I was talking about. This is it. You were right. You called it. This is really, just like the title says, this is creepy as fuck and very disturbing, and you should read this in the open.
I've definitely said this before about Creepshow stuff, but it's always funny to me every time we visit it, where Creepshow is just so different from all the other anthology things like Tales from the Crypt, Outer Limits, Twilight Zone, where they all have their own flavor, but they're all like, here's a concept, let's see it play out to completion. Every single time with Creepshow, it's like, here's a concept. 75% of the way through, it's like, chop over with an axe. Who cares? Rip out their entrails. Yeah, now we're done. And it works. It's fine, but it's just very funny to read.
Well, I agree with you, and I like that tone because it feels more accurate to the classic like EC comics where they were just like, I don't know who's doing stories, you the writer, you the janitor, who's got a fucked up thing that they're thinking in their brains. And so that's what this feels like. And I shouts to the second story, Patrick Horvath, our guy from Beneath the Trees, bringing some fun stuff.
I thought all three of these stories were really fun. Honestly, I had a good time with it. It is absolutely messed up, absolutely brutal and gross, but really different art style for Mirka Andolfo, too, which I was very surprised by. Patrick Horvath, like you said, we're in the tank for. And the last team, which I was not familiar with, I really liked their story as well. So, fun collection. Definitely pick this up. You will.
Pete, as a lover of the rom-com, did you feel at all drawn in by that aspect?
No, this was super fucking gross as shit. You talking about the one where the love potion gone wrong, and then the lady rips the dude's head off, and
yeah, that was cool.
Good stuff.
It was not cool. She didn't have skin on her face. It was very.
That's
very
what they say when you have skin in the game. You have skin in the game, so none on your face.
Oh wow!
You put
That's
your
where you
skin
get the
into
skin
the
on.
game. Yeah,
You take it off.
it's like when you put a quarter into an arcade box.
Mm-hmm.
You put
Have
your
you ever
skin-
been to
Arcade box?
Vegas?
Yeah,
An
cabinet.
arcade box.
What's an arcade box?
It's a cabinet.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. Let's move on. And I want to change it up for you, Pete, because I know this is very upsetting for you. Instead, let's talk about Where Monsters Lie, Cul-de-sac number 4 from Dark Horse Comics.
Party of the Sack.
Written by Kyle Starks, art by Pyotr Kowalski. This is the final issue of this miniseries, though hopefully there's at least one more to come after this. This is about various communities of slasher movie style villains all getting together, and the one maniac cop who wants to take them all down. Another very fun issue of this book. I really love the twists and turns here. I think they happen very organically, but I was still surprised by them. And I'm really looking forward to what might be the concluding part of this trilogy.
The Pyotr Kowalski art is so just down and dirty. Like the fights are just people standing next to each other, just violently slashing each other, blood plague. Like there's no aggrandizing of the violence. It's just like and then blood just literally everywhere. I mean, and shouts to a character that I think we have officially given the nickname to Pete, the Fuckmaster. Mm-hmm. The Fuckmaster comes, the Fuckmaster giveth, and the Fuckmaster taketh away. And Pete, the Fuckmaster LePage, certainly can identify with this character.
The comedy of that scene is so good. Like having a character earnestly crying over a character named Fuckmaster, being like, "No, Fuckmaster, don't die.
Don't die, Fuckmaster," that's fun.
It's unequivocally very funny. It's really good. I love that Kyle Starks is able to make an interesting story that feels like something we haven't seen before, but also is very funny at the same time.
I will give you a lot of credit. Yeah, this is super creative, very original, which is nice. It's a nightmare come to reality a little bit. But I do think what's nice about this issue is that, finally the bad guys start to lose a little bit, which was very exciting for me and gave me some hope. So yeah, I really liked how this ended, and hopefully there's no more monsters, but we will see.
Yeah, I think there might be
some.
It might just be like Where People Lie, the next series. I don't know.
Boy.
Friends.
Sam, in nostalgia baths mostly. Sam Wilson, Captain America #2 from Marvel, written by Greg Pak and Evan Narcisse, art by Eder Messias. Sam Wilson is exploring a bunch of cities in the sky that have a nefarious company behind them, and it turns out things are even more nefarious than he thought. Obviously, this is tying in part into the movie that's coming up, because a Red Hulk shows up to battle him, among other things. Even though I like this team, I had a little bit of a hard time getting into the first issue, but personally, I was really on board with this one. I think it focused up the story. There's some good danger, great dialogue, interesting action, and I'm definitely interested in the place it turned up at the end.
Yeah, I mean, similarly, it does feel there's just something a little I don't know. It's hard to put my finger on what is keeping me at a distance here, but I really like halfway through the introduction of Isaiah Bradley's son, Josiah X, and he's calling himself Shadow Soldier in here. I feel like there's the right players are on the table for this to really pop off in the next issue.
Yeah, I think this is awesome. Yeah, I could. It's an amazing team on here, amazing art, amazing action. I'm interested in the twists and turns that are happening, and kind of a crazy place that they're left in that last couple of panels there. So I'm nervous to see what's going to happen. Wahhabis.
I knew it. I could feel it coming. Black Lightning #4 from DC Comics, written by Brandon Thomas, art by Fico Asio. In this issue, we pick up right where we left off with Black Lightning coming straight for the Justice League. But by the end of the issue, they've put most of their differences aside, and Black Lightning instead is on a mission with his daughters to kick some butt. How are you guys feeling about the series 4 issues in?
Cool cover, that's for sure. I'll tell you what.
It is. Thanks for telling us what.
Yeah, thanks for saying what. I mean, it's a little bit of a hangout comic, and I thought it would be have much more of a drive to it. What do you think about that? It feels like, I don't know, Black Lightning like takes a swing at Superman, and he's like, next couple of pages, he's like, I just punched Superman almost. Like, he sort of talks about what has happened.
What I'm most surprised about with this book right now is how many characters there are in it for a book called Black Lightning. It started with this really tight focus on him and his daughters and their relationship in the first issue, and it's continued to widen out in bigger and bigger ways over the course of the issue so far. I don't mind it necessarily so much as I would love to get back to that focus because I felt that was stronger.
I feel like I'm enjoying the quality daddy-daughter time that we're getting here. Great art and action, like the story. I feel like I understand what you guys are saying. I feel like it is going to focus back down. So, yeah, I'm excited for what's to come.
All right. Why don't we talk about Magic #2 from Marvel, written by Ashley Allen, art by Jermaine Peralta. Magic has made some new friends and is investigating a new supernatural mystery. This time out, she goes to a concert that turns deadly and demonic. Justin, you were super into this
dangerous
one. Yeah, live music is always a little dangerous because you really got to dance. You got to dance if you're going to
dance the night away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I love this book. 2 issues in, and it's one of the stronger of the X-Men books, I feel like, right now. It feels super focused. This issue especially feels like very metal in a cool way with what's happening. I like the partnership between Ilyana and this kid that she met and, I guess, rescued from a bad situation. He's sort of taken on the mantle of his grandmother who died last issue. But the art's really good. I'm fully on board. I like the dark path that they're following here.
Yeah, I agree with the JT says. This kicks a lot of ass. Great use of magic. I like the twists and turns. Tons of action. More please.
I really like this book as well, and I've been surprised how well it's done in terms of keeping focused issue by issue. Granted, we're only 2 issues in, but I just really thought taking this and setting it in a specific place was a really smart way to do it. It's fleshing out the character in very different ways, like you said. And I really thought we were going to get a Belasco reveal at the end of the issue, and we didn't, and I was happy we didn't. So That's great. Trying new things. Here's the one thing, to take the opposite tack from what Pete usually says. The covers I find frustrating. And the reason I find frustrating is I don't like the I'm a sexy baby covers that are going on here when they do not represent what is happening in the book. This is much closer in tone and feel than a plot to the Scarlet Witch book that Steve Orlando's been doing for a while.
Or even a book like Something's Killing the Children or something like that. It feels like in that range. Yeah,
exactly. And this thing where, I don't know, I don't think it's J. Scott Campbell, but it certainly looks within that style. It's just, it does not feel like a good fit for this book at all.
Yeah, the cover is a little misleading.
There you go.
Wow,
the moon is
Pete
following us.
Hard against the cover.
Oh my God, Pete doesn't like covers. That's what I'm getting. Moon is following us.
Pete LePage misleading.
Point out one time you have ever called out a cover for a book, Pete. Ever.
Yeah.
Well, this cover here is This cover here is glorious.
Too little, too late. Too little, too late, man. The Moon is Following Us, number 6 from Image Comics, written by Daniel Warren Johnson, art by Daniel Warren Johnson and Riley Rosmo. In this issue, our parents' characters have discovered they've been tricked all along and now are teaming up with the nightmares inside their daughter Penny's brain to try to save her. Meanwhile, out in the real world, this bird guy is teaming up with a demon vampire or something to bring his own daughter back from her own coma. I know, Pete, you are all in because you love the creative team. Justin, you were feeling a little mixed about this one, maybe mixed negative as of the last issue. So let's start with you, Justin. Do you feel like this is more back on track with this issue, or are you still feeling mixed negative?
I do. I like this issue much more than the previous ones, and I wish this issue was the second issue of this comic. Like they realize they've been tricked. They realize their tactics, very like parent just coming in and being like, I don't know, what are we doing? Let's just do this. Like distraught parent. When we get some great revelations here that they can finally see their daughter's imaginary mind with their own eyes. And the weapons that they find are deeply personal memories and attachments to their family. I'm like, oh, this is super smart. I wish this was front-loaded in the series rather than just discovering this at issue 6, because this is really working, I think.
Well, I think this is a great issue, and I think that's one of the nice things about Daniel Warren Johnson is the layers to what's going on. Tons of fun action. You know, parents are always so dumb. They have no idea what's going on. So it's nice to see them catch up.
Pete, we're parents, Alex.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Separately.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm sorry, are you saying that parents just don't understand? Pete?
That's exactly what I'm saying.
Because that would be crazy. That would be a crazy thing to say.
Oh, right. Drop the track and then Pete, hit it.
I think it's just fun discovery of the parents being like, oh yeah, all this stuff right here was what we need, and it's key moments from our child's life. It's like, oh, nice of you to notice. But yeah, this is just continues to be a blast, a ton of creative fun, and really interesting characters and interesting scenarios. It'll be interesting to see how this all unfolds.
Yeah, and I just want to mention. Oh, sorry, real quick. As a parent, and for any parents listening, if you ever want a weapon that'll beat the shit out of somebody, a car seat is a great thing to use.
Oh, so easy to swing and pick up and move. Car seat. Yeah. And just so, due to some technical issues, Pete will not be performing Parents Just Don't Understand on this podcast, but he will be doing it at our next live show, is what I'm hearing.
Absolutely. And make sure, just in case we forget to ask him, ask in the comments so that we remember Pete is going to perform Parents Just Don't Understand.
And
thank you, Pete.
If we don't, the comment is helpful, but a weekly or daily email would actually be the most effective way to just remind us to do that.
Or I don't know if you guys have seen a movie called Say Anything, but there's a scene there where the main character played John Cusack, who has a radio over his head. So go to Pete's house, hold a radio over your head every morning at, what would you say, Pete, like 4 a.m., 5 a.m., something like that, and play Parents Just Don't Understand, and Pete will come to his balcony window, it's very Romeo and Juliet, and perform the song for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sounds fun.
That's really cool.
Yeah, I mean, if someone showed up to my house,
if
someone showed up to my house with a boombox, that would be automatic welcome.
Automatic.
Wow.
That's really nice. He's waiting to be Cusacked. And if you're wondering where Pete lives, the only thing we know for sure is that it's not New York City, and that he does not and has never lived in the New York City limits.
Come on.
Pete has yet to invite us to his house.
You are invited.
Pete, I gave you my heart. You gave me a podcast. Okay, so let's move on.
Wow. Happy Valentine's Day, everybody.
Deadpool Wolverine #2 from Marvel, written by Benjamin Percy, art by Joshua Cassara. Last issue, Deadpool was brainwashed by the original Sharp Boy Strife, and that's where we're picking it up. And this issue is Strife's plan becomes more apparent, I want to say. As Wolverine.
Yes, I also want to say that.
Yes, I want to say that. Here's the thing. This is so ridiculously over the top, and that is frankly exactly what I want out of this.
Yep.
Because do I know what's going on? Not necessarily. Are Wolverine and Deadpool fighting giant bone dragons? Yes. Great.
Yeah. They're a bunch of inside-out dragons. They got the bones on the outside and their skin. Pete, how do you feel about the skin ripping happening here? Because there's no skin. They're just skinless.
It's bone ripping action is what it is. Yeah, this is a ton of fun, a blast, great over the top action, as the Zelbatron said. Fun story. I hope they survive this madness. I think it's a fun team up. And
you hope Deadpool and Wolverine, famously indestructible characters, survive this?
Yeah, that's right. I do hope that they survive.
I hope they could pull snatch one more win from the jaws of death. These days.
I hope so too.
It is the wildness of this is like introduction of Strife. I was like, hell yes. Strife is barely in this, and instead it's like, hey, do you know you have a suit? There's a suit that you could wear. And anytime I see Maverick in here in a comic, I'm like, what the fuck is this guy about to say that's going to be mess up the story? He's always saying something that's like either a lie or some like weird side thing. And the character's like, oh, Maverick, yes, I'll do whatever you say. And I'm like, why do you trust this guy? He's not a character. He's barely
literally Maverick. Don't listen to him. He's not going to follow the rules.
And then the inside-out dragons show up, and we get a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Good Times, Archaic, #3 from Ahoy Comics, written by Melissa F. Olson, art by Sally Cantorino. This takes place on a small island filled with mystical creatures and the family who has taken over stewardship of the island. The mother in this issue heads off to meet the god of death, I believe, who lives on the island. I'm really enjoying the creativity at play in this book. It has a interesting, quirky tone to it where I don't really have a clear sense of where it's going or what's going to happen next, but that's okay because I'm really willing to follow whatever weird roads this is going to go down.
It's a striking difference that I think Melissa F. Olson is finding here between the extremely grounded main characters, specifically the mom, who's like, I'm getting too old for this shit about this magic island. And then going into wild fantasy swings, some that are like, hey, this guy has a mouth in his gut, and the gut talks, and it's a person named Gut. And then like a very like mythology-based goddess of death situation. And her whole thing is, hey, can you get me the internet? Which I was like, hey, same.
Yeah, same is right. Amazing cover, really cool art, very creative, cool story. Yeah, I'm not sure of everything that's happening, but I'm having a great time. Fun twists and turns. Yeah, I'm along for this ride, and they're just doing a hell of a job telling a very cool story.
Cable, Love and Chrome, #2 from Marvel, written by David Pepose, art by Mike Henderson. Cable is in some point in the future and has met a lady version of himself who has the metal arm on the opposite side. And,
love, that's what
those metal arms may not have any bones, but they're going to bone down anyway.
I've been talking about this book for the previous issue and this one, and yes, I'm going to move past what Alex just said lately. The idea of like taking a hardened character like Cable and just giving him a very simple thing of falling in love and being in a situation where he identifies with someone is so simple and seems obvious, but it's so effective, and we never see it. So I think this is cool. There's a lot of like techno-organic talk in this where they're like trying to solve it, happy that they have it. It's also killing them. So there's a lot jumping around here, but it is still like, I love the premise.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting take on Cable. I think that this is kind of interesting love story, which is cool. It's kind of hilarious that like, he's been talking about this virus that's been killing him forever. So it's fun to see it's finally doing that job. So
it is fun to watch Cable
fun?
finally die.
Yeah, I'm having a great time.
What is your deal, man? Because 2 issues back, you were like, Deadpool, Wolverine, I think that's it for them finally. Are you just hoping that all the comic characters die so you could just stop?
No. I just think that he's always been like, oh, this virus, and now it's finally like, oh yeah, the virus.
If they killed off all of the Marvel and DC characters and just everybody stopped making comics entirely, would you find a new hobby, or would you just like roll into a ditch somewhere? What would you do?
Wow, those are my options. I'm going with ditch. No, I would keep reading the amazing comics that I have. I don't want them all to die, but I just think it's I just think it's interesting. I'm not sure how I feel about this relationship, so I don't know.
I like it. I'm with Justin on this one.
I do like it, but like we were talking about Spider-Man's intense romance with Shay, a character we know nothing about. And we're a little bit in that territory here with Cable's partner, potentially here. But we are learning about her. And he just met her, we just met her, so that's fun. And the virus is techno and organic, Pete. You love both of those things.
Yeah. Which is your favorite type of music, by the way, Pete? Techno music or organic music?
I'm going to have to go with organic if those are my 2 choices.
Oh, yeah. No pesticides, man. It's the best.
Yeah.
Witchblade, number 8 from Top Cow.
I love some of that homegrown pornography. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah. Organic.
I have all these blades. Which blade am I going to choose?
Well, the master.
Wow, Pete, are you a dad? Because that's where you're at right now.
Written by Marguerite Bennett, art by Giuseppe Cafaro. In this issue, after the very brief tease last issue, we finally get the Darkness and Witchblade face to face by the end here. I don't know. I love it.
You love this?
I do. Yes. I keep mentioning it with every issue, and I can't explain it in every issue. I'm like, I need to figure out why I like this so much. And I certainly still like Marguerite Bennett is playing around with bodily autonomy stuff. There's a very weird dreamlike quality that has taken over this book entirely, where it feels like it is just scenes are washing into other scenes in a weird way. But there's certainly it's a very sexy book. It's a very adult book. And I do really like the darkness, and I'm looking forward to seeing what happens now that they're face to face.
I agree. And you can't read this in the open. There's some well-placed long hairs covering certain parts, but
I'm the same way. Whenever I lay down, my hair just happens to fall over my...
Yeah. I'm always with my long, luxurious hair.
Which hairs are you referring to specifically?
Pubic.
Oh, Jesus.
Long, luxurious pubic.
The pubics of the hairs. Is that how you refer to them?
The pubics?
But I did love the ending of this, and it did make me excited for more.
Pete desperately trying to get out of this conversation. But I do. This comic reminds me of it's like a movie like Darkman, which is like a good movie, but it's built on a skeleton of like a bad movie. You know what I mean? Like it's a great version of.
How dare you? Darkman is a great movie.
This is what he's saying.
Agreed, but I'm saying that Darkman is a great movie, but it's built on like sort of a shitty revenge movie structure, but they just elevate the form, and that's what I think this Witchblade is. It is like sort of a middling cop drama movie that's like sexy, and then there's a supernatural angle, and it's just everything's really elevated for what you were saying, Alex, with like the dreamlike quality, the characterization, the dialogue. So like I really like that. It's like taking something that's a little bit trashy and making it awesome.
And last but not least, let's talk about New Champions number 2 from Marvel, written by Steve Fox, art by Ivan Fiorelli. Last issue, we had a bunch of young heroes who were all summoned to the woods in the open together. And this issue, they have to figure out why they're there, what's going on, and sort out the situation. I know we were, I think, okay with the first issue. So how are you feeling about issue number 2?
Well, I like this issue more. I felt like first off, cool cover.
Just real quick on the cover, Pete, before you move off it. This cover literally gives away the last page.
Yep.
In a way that I was like, guys, don't do that.
And you usually hate that, right, Pete?
Yeah, but what I liked about this cover is it's dynamic enough where I was like, oh, this seems interesting. I want to pick up this book. But yeah, it wasn't. The reveal at the end is spoiled by this cover, so spoilers. But yeah, I am glad that we got to know her name there. So that was kind of fun, a fun mix of the Matrix and Magneto. And also first appearance of Deadpool Boy, which is kind of a hilarious Justin joke where his hat is backwards and he's riding a skateboard.
Well, I like he calls himself out like, I don't even know if I'm in continuity. Later.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the energy of this. I love the art of this. I think, it's fun ideas, well executed, fun group. And, Auntie seems like she's not evil at all. So,
this is giving such like the Avengers Arena and all of those books where you have just like a ton of young characters that are very expendable. Thrown in, I mean, these are like newly invented legacy heroes that are like, and I think that the Deadpool kid joke is the best version of it, where he's like introduced for a second and it's just like a 2-joke character and then he's gone. Like that's fun. Like I like Avengers Arena was one of my favorite comics back in the day when it was coming out, and all of that type of thing. So I think if this so far hasn't been moving fast enough for me. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to get to whatever the point is, because it just feels like a bunch of people accidentally show up in the first issue, and then this issue is like, here we are, and not much happens.
Well, and then most of them leave by the end of the issue. So 2 issues in, my problem here is I still don't know who this team is, what they want, what their goal is, anything like that. I want this to work because I always like young teen teams, and that's fun, but I'm just not quite sure what's happening, honestly.
Yeah, hopefully we'll get it. I think they're facing off against the champions in the next issue.
Yeah.
So maybe that'll
it's going to be new champions.
Well, we'll see what happens, new or old. And that is it for the stack. If you'd like to support this podcast, patreon.com/comic book club, where you can get ad-free versions of this podcast and all the other podcasts we do. Apple, Spotify, Android, or the app of your choice to subscribe, listen, and follow the show. comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, we'll see you at the Comic Book Club.
And if you'd like to support any of our homegrown pornography, please come on down for a farm visit. It's all grown insecticide free. Please come check us out.
Yeah, and our slogan, just in case you're wondering, is "We'll fuck the skin right off of you."
Whoa.